It's 6 o'clock, which means it's time for TISM. We're going to hear Greg the Stop Sign, and then Prime Minister Albanese's favourite band, TISM, popped by the studio for a chat. We're going to hear that in just a couple of minutes after this track. Greg the Stop Sign from TISM, Triple R.
The guy who slagged the football team, those jobs are not for him. He turns into a real estate agent who believes in discipline. The guy who's first to use cocaine, the wild boy breaking free. He'll end up in a court of law as a prosecuting QC. Remember the school captain? Success was a matter of time. I can hear her now as she screams, Greg, you missed the stop sign. Forget Snoop, Doggy Dog, forget Old Iced Tea. The true word out on the streets is produced by the TAC. What's the use of striving? Life's road in front unravels. We get to do the driving, don't choose the direction we travel. Do your homework and whack for weeks, graffiti the damn young line. It don't matter much when you hear that scream, Greg, you missed the stop sign.
Greg, the stop sign. Greg, the stop sign. Greg, the stop sign. Greg, the stop sign.
Sometime in the next 10,000 years, a comet's gonna wipe out all trace of man. I'm banking on it coming before my end-of-year exam. The rich kid becomes a junkie, the poor kid an advertiser. What a tragic waste of potential. Being a junkie's not so good either. Your folks worked hard for what you got. You were the fruit of their vine. Who cares what you sow and what you reap? Miss Greg, you missed the stop sign.
That was Greg the Stop Sign from TISM, and Ron Hitler-Barassi and Humphrey B. Flaubert from TISM join me in the studio and are here to talk about their new compilation called Collected Verses, which is out now. So why have you decided to reform and put out this compilation?
Well, Kate, look, first of all, I'm offended by the tone of that question, but I am Ron Hitler-Barassi from TISM and...
Humphrey B. Flaubert here.
TISM. And I don't like the way that you disrespect Herb Elliott. I also don't like the way you disrespect Herb...
Alpert. Yeah.
Alpert.
I think it was in the pronunciation of herp, as in herpes. I think, like many people, you didn't quite get that his name wasn't Herb. Herb has a sort of a New Zealand dub reggae feel about
That's
it.
right.
But Herp's not like that at all. And, of course, Herp, his surname, Alpert, it's not Albert.
No.
like
Herp
the Prince.
Alpert.
It's Herp Alpert, and there's an alliterative
vowel sound.
Yeah, and it
it's
rhymes
quite
with hurt, which was, I think, a Nine Inch Nails song, and I understood to be about self-harm, which, of course, Nine Inch Nails, their entire back catalogue was actually a concept album about the death of Herp Alpert, who ended up, of course, in after his untimely death, which we may discuss later if you ask another question about it. Found him interred, if that's the right word, in Père Lachaise Cemetery
in Paris. Kate, obviously, we're talking about Herp Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. Is there another Herp Alpert? I mean, your question betrays your ignorance. And the thing about Herp is he's one of our heroes because unlike, say, Charlie Parker or Jim Morrison, etc., Herp died a true artist's death. Now, Humphrey, I think you should describe the manner in which Herp decided to end.
Okay, yes. I think listeners might be more interested in how you've been spending your time since you last emerged publicly.
Well, yes, you're right, Kate. It was a cheese grater applied to his own genital region. And he had the cheese grater set on the very fine zesting setting, not your julienning the carrots setting, which takes massive chunks out of your scrotum and is a quick, albeit painful, but quick demise.
But the thing is, Humphrey, I doubt this actually could be a form of suicide because would not the first driving of the zesting grater on the scrotal area be so intense that you couldn't continue? I mean, surely what you're saying, your postulation about Herp's death, is scarcely believable.
Well, I know. What do you think about this, Kate? Do you think that Herp's use of the light grating setting was symbolic?
Right, yes. And I'm not entirely sure what any of this has to do with the compilation you have coming out.
Okay, well, that's a fair point.
No,
I think that, I think that, perhaps he was showing us all that we can push on through hard times. That first moment when a cheese grater comes in contact with your genitals, it's very easy to just say, I give up.
Enough, exactly. But Herp, this is why I think with Charlie Parker, you inject yourself with heroin, you go to sleep. Like a death. The tragedy of the death isn't as effective as Herp's death, where he moved on through. As Kate points out, Herp was into the primal scream, a cathartic, cathartic sort of release, wasn't
Janulf,
he?
yes.
Yeah.
Arthur Janulf, that's right, yeah.
That's right, and you'd think, by the time he'd be losing consciousness, there'd be a lot of blood loss, I think at this point, there'd be gristle, bone, flesh, etc.
Gristle,
right?
Yeah.
And I think in the delirium of his final few scrotal thrusts, despite the pain, he comes out, he dies as a greater artist than Jim Morrison in his own vomit or Charlie Parker asleep. There's a more admirable determination about a cheese grater death. I would find the Charlie Parker way of going, it's akin to using perhaps a potato peeler. There's a brutal quickness about it, isn't there? But the zesting nature of the implement, the slow accretion of flesh, pain, bits, you'd be on the floor and you would feel the blood pooling around you, I think. There'd be little coils of flesh.
And yes, you're right, Kate. Like in Joseph Heller's Catch-22, at the moment of Snowden's demise...
where are the Snowdens of yesteryear?
That's right.
This is the question Herb's asking us.
It's, a coldness settles over the soon to die of self-harm person. And I think Herp felt that coldness for all of us, much in the way that Jesus died for all of us, but better though, because Herp stayed dead and Jesus was only dead for
He was hardly committed, wasn't he? I mean, if you're going to rise in 3 days, I mean, granted it was a slow, painful death, but you know, like you're coming back in 3 days.
And,
man,
they nailed him to the cross. They didn't grate his hands off, did they?
I mean, he stabbed him in the side and everything, but there was no grating involved.
No,
certainly.
So really, a bit of a piss-poor effort
3 days,
the
and
Son
you get
of
on
God.
the train to Perth, you're there in 3 days.
I think so,
For the sake of keeping your record label at least mildly satisfied with this interview, can you explain how this relates to TISM re-emerging?
Yes. Yes, Kate, that is true. How does that relate to TISM reappearing?
Good question,
That is
Kate.
a good question. We were
You are
hoping
the
you weren't going to ask
Ferguson
that.
of Triple R.
Yeah. But I think, the listeners trying to stay with us on this in our exploration of the slow and grisly death of Herp Alpert, there is a parallel to TISM coming back after 19 years to have one last go at the bit of gristle hanging down between the hips of their career. That's what I see it as.
It's a lovely picture. It's a picture painted in the minds of the Triple R listener. The lovely gristle hanging. I can see it actually now, Humphrey. There'd be gristle, and just above the gristle you would see the scrotal hair. You would see the scrotal hair, wouldn't you? I think just at the top of the frame.
Lonely one, a lonely coil, saying, this is
humanity.
This is humanity.
Lonely,
yes.
like King Lear. The famous Shakespearean stage. The storm continues, and Lear is there, lonely and lost, like the scrotal hair, and also the gristle would be bloodied to some extent. There would be a bloody.
That's right.
I mean, you'd hardly be gristle if it was zested off. How could it not be? I mean, it'd be ridiculous to think it wasn't bloody.
That's right.
That's right.
And it is, as you point out, Kate, grist to our mill that we continually use Herp Alpert's death as a symbol of our career, because we're promising that in a festival we're going to be playing in December, there will be acts of self-harm using a cheese grater. And we're encouraging the audience to come along with their Campari, with their
our
vermouth, yes, and their gin, make their own Negronis. If the weather's not if it's a bit cold, you can have a heated Negroni. It's not quite Herp Alpert.
We're not monsters.
No, that's right.
We're not monsters. I mean, we do want them to grate their own scrotums off, but we're not unreasonable.
That's right.
You can heat your Negroni.
Exactly.
I don't know. There's complaints already, but there's a concession on our part.
So as the lonely wind sweeps across Flemington Racecourse, and
like Lear actually on the heath.
Yes, and the sound of young people in anguish.
The looming storm looming over the western suburbs.
And that grating sound.
The blood-red sun sending its horrific reddish rosette hue of doom across the park.
And this kind of umbrella, this flying umbrella of gristle that goes right across the northern suburbs.
That's when we know TISM's job is done.
And what's the name of this festival you're playing if listeners wish to subject themselves to experiencing more of this nonsense?
Well, yes, Kate, you are right. I have signed up for Hillsong. I don't know where you got that information from, but I would like to think that you won't hold that against me, when we discuss Herp.
Kate,
yes.
The racist use of the N-word in your last question offends me greatly. I also think that you're a cisgendered heteronormative monster, as can be told so obviously by your pronouns. Humphrey, I'm beginning to be offended by this typical right-wing, sky after dark, triple R nonsense.
chew. We have ways of making you poo. So come on, baby, set it on down. Little brother, give me your brother's trouble. Brew in the wolf so pack, so hurry up here and move it to get there.
My trouble seems so far away. My trouble seems so far away.
Here come the Russians. It's near the end. Proud to say that my girl never used an S-bend. What's that even? Your bowel is on strike. Then it's all over.